All right, guys. So shortly after 9/11, our government passed the Patriot Act, right? Which, in my opinion, is a unconstitutional expansion of the surveillance state that essentially gives the government unlimited access to your phone calls and electronic communications, right? Unchecked power from the federal government to essentially spy on its own citizens in the name of going after foreign terrorists, right? Trying to prevent another 9/11. Now, here's the thing, man. Anytime you give the government an inch, they will always take a mile, right? This is why this whole Facebook thing in regards to this so-called whistleblower, aka Democrat plant, is so important. The reason why is because essentially what that person is asking for is more government censorship, right? And if you do it in the name of, well, the teenage girls, they're being mentally affected by seeing fake girls on the internet, right, on social media, then that essentially will give them power to censor anything and anybody for any reason, right? It always starts with, hey, we're trying to protect you, right? In the name of protecting you. That's where it starts. But it always expands further. And in the case of, the Patriot Act, essentially everybody has become a suspect or a potential suspect. So everybody should know this, and nobody should be surprised to hear that there was a accidental leak that revealed that the U.S. government has secretly hit Google with so-called keyword warrants to identify anyone searching certain names, addresses, and phone numbers. Yes, so essentially what that means, guys, is that the government is issuing warrants to Google for them to turn over information, right, to identify people who Google certain things, whether there's names, addresses, phone numbers, etc. So the FBI is like, hey, Google, we want you to turn over any information for somebody that Googles, I don't know, things about how to, fly a kite, right? Then Google will turn over that information, right? That's essentially how it works, right? If you've Googled how to fly a kite. So this is some pretty shocking information to anybody who's not actually checked into how the government works and the fact that the Fourth Amendment is dead. But if you aren't checked into that, I want to rock your world with this information about how the government continues to unconstitutionally spy on American citizens. Quote, the U.S. government is using keyword warrants to uncover the identity of anyone who searches Google and other search engines for certain search terms that may be related to a crime, according to a new report. The controversial practice, which has already drawn civil liberties concerns about sweeping government overreach, was revealed on Tuesday in an accidental unsealed court documents obtained by Forbes. Keyword warrants, which have been secretly employed for at least several years, are drawing backlash as many argue they violate an individual's constitutional protections against unreasonable search and seizure. I mean, they obviously do, right? They obviously do. This is what I try to tell you guys. The Fourth Amendment is dead, right? I mean, it doesn't really apply. Again, and this happened after the Patriot Act. Right? You don't have any rights to privacy anymore. And the government really doesn't need probable cause or anything like that to essentially spy on you, right? To collect information on you. Okay? So yeah, this is what's happening in the digital age, guys. Trawling through Google's search history database enables police to identify people merely based on what they might have been thinking about before whatever reason at some point in the past, said Jennifer Granick, Surveillance and Cybersecurity Counsel at the American Civil Liberties Union. Quote, this never before possible technique threatens First Amendment interests and will inevitably sweep up innocent people, especially if the keyword terms are not unique and the time frame not precise, which insulates the practice from public debate and regulation. All right, guys, so this is a list right here of keywords it look like, right? This is like an example of one of the documents. And this was for the serial bomber back in Austin, Texas in 2018. So if you Google one of these words, right, then you might be on the FBI's list, right? They might have been looking out for you. You might have been on their watch list. Now, here's the thing, guys. I understand the argument that, in the digital age where, you have people online who are, looking up certain information to potentially cause harm to other people. Like, I definitely understand the argument of how, the government to a certain extent, or authorities should be empowered to be able to prevent attacks from happening beforehand. Like I 100% get that argument. However, here's the thing. Just because you're searching something like this doesn't mean that you are planning an attack, right? It could mean that, hey, I'm just curious about how this stuff is made. I'm curious about how it works. I'm curious about the science behind it. Okay, like if I go and search information about a nuclear bomb, right? I may just be looking up how it works. That doesn't mean that I want to make a nuke or that I'm trying to nuke somebody, right? Or nuke another country. That's not what it means. It simply means that you can have interest in a certain topic simply to learn about how it works, or for whatever reason. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are a criminal just because you Google something, right? And, when you get caught up in stuff like this in the name of public safety, again, it is a slippery slope in which the government continuously grabs power in the name of public safety. And that's what people got to understand. And that ultimately makes it so a lot of innocent people get caught up and are now made out to be potential criminals, right? However, Google has defended its decision to respond to keyword warrants and claims they protect users when doing so. As with all law enforcement requests, we have a rigorous process that is designed to protect the privacy of our users while supporting the important work of law enforcement, a Google spokesperson explained. The federal government claims the scope of the warrants is limited, which allegedly avoids implicating innocent people who search the specific terms by happenstance. Sure, when is the federal government ever limited in their scope, right? They say, oh, it's limited. Don't worry. Don't worry. You people that just happen to be searching this stuff, you won't get caught up in it. Don't worry. We won't violate your civil liberties or your privacy. Nah, don't worry about that. Okay? They say it's limited. Lies. However, officials have not publicly disclosed how often they use keyword warrant requests or the number of users whose data have been turned over by private tech companies. Forbes reported that only a handful of keyword warrant requests have been made public. The most sweeping was a keyword hunt for the serial bomber who struck Austin, Texas in 2018. The order served on Google, Yahoo, and Microsoft demanded the handover of IP and account information for anyone who searched for a range of terms related to bomb making, such as low explosives and pipe bomb. 2 people died in the 20-day bombing spree, and bomber Mark Anthony Condit killed himself as authorities closed in on him. Police said that he was traced by unique pink construction gloves captured on surveillance video. So he wasn't even caught by these warrants, right? He wasn't even caught by that. He was caught by what we traditionally use, right, in order to track people. Surveillance video of him probably buying certain materials. Okay? So again, they collected a whole lot of information on people who were innocent and had nothing to do with it, and come to find out, when they actually got the guy, they didn't get him because of the keyword warrant. They got him because of other things. So yeah, kind of crazy. The most recent keyword warrant surrounded a 2019 investigation involving Wisconsin men who are believed to have trafficked and sexually abused a minor after she had gone missing earlier that year. In an attempt to catch the victim's alleged kidnappers, the FBI asked Google to provide them with information on anyone who had searched the girl's name, 2 spellings of her mother's name, and her address over a 16-day period. Google provided the government with the requested data, relevant Google accounts, and IP addresses in mid-2020. It is unclear how many users were included in the report. So in this situation, you had somebody that kidnapped somebody, right? And if you search the girl's name, right, the name of the person that was kidnapped, or spellings of her mother's names or her address, then potentially you're on the FBI watch list. Okay, I mean, it's insane how this stuff works, right? It's insane. Imagine all the innocent people that are just interested in that subject that got caught up in that, just because maybe they was Googling the girl to see what she looked like, to be on the lookout for her, for whatever reason. But now you become a suspect. The government also asked Google to provide data on anyone who had searched for the address of an arson victim who was witnessed in R. Kelly's racketeering trial. In the third instance detail in 2017, a judge signed a warrant requesting the tech giant provide information on anyone in Edina, Minnesota, where the crime took place, who searched the name of a fraud victim. It's kind of crazy that judges are signing off on this stuff, right? They're all in line as well, too. Cybersecurity experts have raised concerns over keyword warrants because they are a type of search term order which are effectively phishing expeditions. They fear that allowing keyword warrants will set a precedent for breaching the Fourth Amendment protection against unreasonable searches. Well, I mean, that's already been breached, bro. Like, I mean, again, if anybody knows about, Snowden and all the things that he unveiled, right, in terms of how the government spies on U.S. citizens, bruh, again, the Fourth Amendment is effectively non-existent. It doesn't really mean anything. Privacy experts also speculate that keyword searches could impact freedom of speech because users may fear that their information will be provided to the government based on what they search for. The revelation of sweeping federal warrants drew swift condemnation from privacy advocates and civil liberties groups. Blanket warrants such as reverse location plus reverse keyword warrants circumvent constitutional checks on police surveillance. The New York chapter of the ACLU tweeted, law enforcement shouldn't have broad access to tracking data. Warrants must be narrowly targeted, specific, and based on probable cause. Another important thing to worry about with keyword warrants, secrecy. This warrant was unveiled by mistake, but what if it weren't? Tweeted ACLU lawyer Jennifer Granite. Would anyone have ever known that this technique had been used, or how often, or what data the government got, or where that information is now? She added, the FBI and Department of Homeland Security, both of whom are said to utilize keyword warrants, did not immediately respond to dailymail.com's request for comment. So yeah, if you're searching certain search terms, guys, you might be on the FBI's watch list. Okay, so yes, this is just another example of how our civil liberties and our rights to privacy and our rights not to be subject to unreasonable searches and seizures that's being violated, right? And it's just one of those things where at this point, again, this is the type of stuff that the government's doing that we allow because, it's always in the name of, well, we're trying to protect people. And it never is about just protecting people, right? It's about power, right? More power equals more control. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.